Welcome back to Titanium Hanger. This is Mike, and I'm coming at you with a video size comparison for the Hasbro Jabba Barge to Haslab. And I'm going to compare sizes of vintage vehicles and some modern legacies that kind of coincide with it. I also want to touch on a few points. First thing I want to say is that I'm not here to sell you on this thing. My ultimate goal with making any videos about this barge before I even get one is to get the word out there so people know. You know, it's I would really be upset if I found out that this whole thing was going on and I missed out on it. Couldn't get in on it on the $500 price point, have to pay $3,000 on secondary market, or that hey, I could have contributed and it could have been made. So anyway, if you don't know it exists, it exists. You got to go to Haslab, Hasbro/Haslab.com. You can just type in Haslab, you'll find it in a search engine, and it's $500 for a Java Cell barge that's going to get made a year from now. You have to wait a year to get it. You got to front the money. And that's that. First size comparison is, though, one of my favorite vehicles, and one of the bigger ones from Vintage Line, and it's the Imperial Shuttle Tidarium. And I do kind of like Shuttle Tidariums and kind of named my site after that. So I want to talk about a few things also in addition to these size comparisons. Who are they really making this barge for? I think they're definitely targeting people such as myself who collect vintage mostly. A lot of my friends that collect vintage exclusively. In fact, I'm shocked to see any other newer stuff in their collection at all. Those are the people that they're going after with this. And some of the newer people that collect newer stuff that go after original trilogy is who they're going after. They're not targeting the 8-year-old kid on the aisle. My kids, they're not targeting my kids. So that's who they're going after. This is truly vintage. They're not coming up with some weird way to shape it into something else. They're going after the actual 1983 movie model. Here it is compared to a few ships that are pretty common. Well, the A-Wing's not exactly the most common, but it's common size, and y'all kind of have the size and scale with that. And with this thing being 4 foot long, it actually is very big, which brings up a question of space, and a lot of people have talked about space. Well, there's a few things you can do. I know that I don't exactly have the space problem right now. I may in the future. In my old house, I did. So what I had to do when I displayed something in my old house, I kind of had to rotate out. I had to throw some stuff in the attic, display what I want to display, move it around, and that's just kind of what I did. With this thing here, I looked at a lot of customs, and those customs, what they did was they just displayed all of their loose figures on their deck and inside and whatever, which I thought was really a cool idea. I'm more of would like to make a scene with just the people that are pertinent in there, but that's kind of what I would do and what I plan to do. So here it is next to a B-Wing, the vintage 1983 B-Wing, which, it's kind of one of the bigger vehicles. It's longer vehicles. And, of course, this thing is twice as long as the B-Wing. Here it is next to a Y-Wing, and this is definitely a big vehicle. And just to show you, just for fun. Some of the things about this that they talked about was having illumination on the lower deck. Now, I haven't heard anyone else talking about illumination on the lower deck. I haven't heard anyone talking about any other features like electronics that'll be in it. But A, if they're saying there's illumination on the lower deck, B, this thing hasn't been fully developed, so they haven't created a sound chip. They haven't captured the sounds from the soundtrack, the blasters and all that stuff, the effects. This thing would have to have lights and sound for its price point and to be considered a premium collectible. It should have those features. Now, it's not the tallest vehicle. The Legacy AT-AT is taller. This is the one my kids play with, so it's kind of been through a little bit, but as you can see, the Legacy AT-AT is taller now. I think the Legacy AT-AT is an amazing vehicle. One thing about it, though, I just felt like it was too light for as big as it is. I was just surprised how light it was when I first put mine together, 5 years ago, 6 years, I don't know, whenever they first came out. And then I also want to talk to you about what's this thing selling for new in the box. So I bought one at full price, like $100. It was just $100 5 years ago, 6 years, whenever 2013, 12, whenever they released it, I don't remember. And then I picked up several more on clearance for $50 at Walmart, and then I just threw them on eBay last year, and $330 a piece or something like that is what they sold for. I was like, so if this thing here is crash and burn, if this thing here is selling for $300-400, then on secondary market, then what's this cell Barge going to sell for? Here's some ships that are on the same planet. The Tatooine. This is on the left you have the Sonic land speeder. On the right you have just the standard land speeder that they released in size comparison with those. And I want to talk also about something that actually has kind of bothered me is this divide in collector community about this whole ship. So why people are up in arms and upset about this. And so I want to speak out about that. It's almost like people don't want to support it. So Hasbro isn't doing this Haslab thing because they just want to. They're sort of following the what was the Matty Collector model in a way. Hopefully they execute it better than Matty Collector, and hopefully the quality's better than the Voltron, which I like the Voltron. But anyway, this is not it's not their choice. It's more of a necessity. And here's why. Retailers will not back this thing. The retailers won't back it. Then how are they going to sell it? Straight direct to the consumer. The other thing is, how much would this cost if you had to buy it at Target? What would be the MSRP on this? It'd be like $700. So you have to understand that for $500, you're cutting out a middleman. They'd be having to charge $700 for this. Or you get a $300 version that was scaled down with a third or even half of the features taken out of it, a foot shorter. It would probably have lights and sounds because that's obviously easy to do. The cells would be made of just a hunk of plastic. There'd just be a whole lot of cutbacks in it for mass retail release, and it wouldn't be exactly what we wanted. So let's compare it to another vehicle that's $500 right now, and if you go on eBay and buy this bad boy, you can get a loose one for like $200, $250 or something. So it's not that expensive. But of course, you want it sealed in the box. Everything sealed in the box is going to be double, triple, whatever a loose one would be. And so this divide in the collector community, and these people that are saying that $500 is too much, or just coming up with whatever reasons, I think the people that complain about it and complain that the way it's going, it's either go this route or not get made. I understand that. Just simple business. But these people complaining about it and saying $500 is too much, I don't want to spend. I'd rather spend $300. But you have to understand current economics and rampant inflation that we've seen. That it's going to be hard. They're not a company that's there for charity. This is a for-profit corporation that's making us something that we want. And I look at it like this. I'm ordering 3 of these because I want one in the box. I want one open to mess around with, and I want one for a friend of mine. So I got 3 of them coming in. But I'm not going to spend $2,000 on eBay a year from now to buy one of these because that's what they're going to be selling for. The price is going to go as however high someone wants to charge. $5,000. Who knows? Because there's only going to be so many made, and I'm sure we're going to hit the 5,000 threshold, so I'm not even worried about that. But $500 is too much. Well, the Legacy Falcon's right here. Let's take it nose to nose, tip to tip. It is that much shorter. So I mean, just thinking about like plastic and production and all that stuff. And yes, the Legacy Falcon MSRP'd originally for $149.99. The Toys R Us version was $250, and here we are 4 or 5 years later talking about this thing. And yes, they said it would cost $500 to put out the Legacy Falcon again. Another major divide in the collector community is talking about the future releases of Haslab. And that, okay, so some people want this thing to happen so that we get another Death Star. I'm sorry, I've got the best Death Star on the planet already up and running. You can check my other videos out about that. JK, I just threw nine of them together and made it look cool. But there could be a much better option than that if Haslab got involved. This Sandcrawler here needs to get remade. Bigger, better, better. So that's something. Lastly, I want to do a comparison to some of the vehicles that would sort of fit into this scene and this area. And you have in the middle, you have the Tidal Wing Skiff. That's the '90s version. Really don't like messing with my vintage ones so much because it's a very fragile toy and very expensive toy. You got the mini rig for the sail skiff, whatever that is, and then you have the one sand skimmer on the left side, sand skimmer. And so this is how this scales with it. I think it looks great. I don't know how the coloring's going to be in the end, and so that's another point, is what's it going to look like painted. You just see that these are a slightly different hue. The vintage, this gray on here sort of matches the vintage inside here on an actual vintage one. So anyway, this is a size comparison. Just want to talk about a few points, get the message out there. Hope everybody likes it. Like and subscribe, and back the barge. Titanium Hanger out.